Welcome to another episode of Talking with Kevin and Son and the people you should know. Today on Talking with Kevin and Son, we are diving into the future of fitness, recovery, and human performance. Our featured guest is Patrick Paul Kirkland. He is a visionary CEO of BioSports, a performance-driven health tech company redefining how athletes and everyday people train, recover, and prevent injuries through the power of AI. I'm going to hopefully I'll get this right. Genomics and real-time biological data. Patrick's journey has expanded from an executive leader into from luxury automobiles, and I'm going to talk about this brands like Ferrari, Rolls-Royce, and cutting-edge technology and biotech companies as such as BioAstro, Cardio AI, if I said this right. And today he is leading the revolution in transforming traditional fitness into personalized science. At the BioSports, they are not just supporting training, they are transforming it. This conversation is going to change how you see your body, your potential, and the future of human performance. Hi, my name is Kevin McLemore. I am your show host, four-time published author, an award-winning author, um, a master level fitness professional. Our mission is to give power to your voice, inspire you, share experiences, and create a framework around your everyday life based on teaching and learning. The show sponsor today is brought to you by The Burl at 149 East Lancaster Avenue in Pennsylvania. They have a three-level upscale sports bar. Their second level is fine food dining. The third level is dinner, dancing, and live music on Fridays and Saturday nights. If you happen to listen to this podcast and you're in the neighborhood, drop by and ask for the one of the owners, either JT or Keith. Or if you're real smart, you'll talk to the executive chef, which happens to be my original show host, my son, Theo McLemore. So today, let me welcome to the show the man behind the revolutionary movement of fitness and recovery. The man is named Mr. Patrick Kirkwood. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing really good, Kevin. Thanks so much. How about yourself? How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Today's another day, great day. I'm always celebrating anytime that God gives me a second chance at life. I try to make sure He doesn't regret it. So let me tell a little bit more about Patrick to my guests. He is in the space of human and health potential. He has worked with BioSports for multiple years, bringing together AI, machine learning, and you have to tell me what genomics data basically means and deliver it, how that delivers the insights to predict cardio risk, prevent injuries, optimizing recovery, and also changing the way athletes train and thrive. You know, your leadership through conversation we have basically reflects the new innovation for health and fitness, the discipline, the passion, and unlocking the secrets to what's inside performance athletes based on biological advancement. So, Patrick, do me a favor. All right, you started out in the automobile industry and being a leader in that. Tell us how you got started in that business and how that business opened the door to where you're currently at.
Well, listen, I'd be happy to tell you that story, but I think I'm gonna give a little curveball here right off the bat. I need to chime in and give a little day of maybe 10 seconds of mourning for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well,
So
don't give 10 seconds to Toronto Blue Jays. You have to give them the dues. That team performed like there was no tomorrow. I had them picked as the winner. I know a lot of people here in the United States weren't exactly big fans of the Dodgers, but I thought they were going to win it. So it I don't think it's a day of mourning. I know you as you feel as a fan. I think it's a day of celebration to get that far. It's just like going to the Olympics. You know, Olympics is the only sport that gold, silver, and bronze gets the same recognition as the gold. So don't undersell the achievement of that team. I mean, the last time you guys won the World Series, Joe Carter, a friend of mine from the Cleveland Indians. I don't even know if they call them the Cleveland Indians anymore. It's just out of habit. He hit that home run that changed the whole course of everything. And you guys had a couple of winners, so don't sell it. So go ahead and have your moment.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, it will go down as one of the greatest World Series ever. I think there was so many moments in there, and even the end of the game was a cracked, shattered bat that went flying into a double play that ended the end of the series. But anyway, listen, we spoke about that, and I guess we will never see another one exactly like that. I don't think in our lifetime. But congratulations to the Dodgers and of course to the Blue Jays as well. Now,
Yeah.
go ahead and ask me that question again. You were asking me what was.
All right. So your original story. All right.
Hmm.
What I want to know is what inspired you to create or be part of BioSports? How did your journey from luxury automobile leadership lead you to performance health tech? Where'd
Mm.
that come from?
Yeah, yeah. Let me tell you the story. So many years ago, I met a gentleman that was he's a cardiologist, and he happened to have a problem with automobiles and very fine automobiles. I called it itchy car disease, and he loved the Ferrari automobile. And at that time, I was the boss, I was general manager at the Ferrari dealership. He came wandering in. We developed a relationship. He had an older California Ferrari, was looking to upgrade, and many years later, we stayed in touch. And back in about 2017, he was telling me about a company that he was going to start, research and development company. And eventually, in the year 2000, after many conversations, I decided I would leave the automobile industry. It was very intriguing, the new world of medical innovation and all the things that were going on. And as I joined Kevin, I jumped right into COVID. And the COVID was, I mean, just there was nothing like that and never will be again in our lifetime. But immediately we took our research and development company and we pivoted into COVID, where we created the world's fastest, most accurate COVID test. We did all kinds of things from sporting events to we moved some of our scientists into the De Beers diamond mine where we did COVID testing. We moved into a Winnipeg airport. We did film and television. And thank goodness, eventually the COVID ended. We pivoted into genomics. And the whole time I learned so much about COVID, about science. And it was like a funnel. Just, I mean, I learned, you can't imagine how much you had to learn in that short period of time. And as I stuck around, the doctor decided we were going to pivot again and we were going to get into the genomic space. And you can't imagine how interesting that was for me coming from an automotive background. So again, I learned all about genomics, and as we moved along, I ended up hiring an athlete. And I hired the athlete. I wanted him to speak about our company was BioAero, and still is. And what we did is we did whole genomic sequencing, whole exome sequencing, and microbiome testing. And what I hired this athlete to do is really essentially to talk about the experience of what did he or could he learn about getting a genomic test done, getting a microbiome test done. And after we did the testing with him, there's a lot of things that he discovered about himself and his body. And when he started, he was the silver medalist. And he came to me and he said, listen, he says, this is incredible what I've learned about my body. He says, but what I'm really looking for is I'm looking for that extra tenth of a second so I can get that gold medal. And he kind of snickered a little when he said, can you help me? And so that's when it happened. That was the moment. And a few of the doctors, got together and we developed this program and, essentially a sport genomics program for athletes called the BioSport. And that was the very beginning of it. And what we do is we leverage sport genomics it's a bit of a cutting edge platform, and by leveraging that, we've included artificial intelligence and personalized health strategies so that we could optimize the athletic performance. Now we analyze the DNA, and I don't know. I mean, I'm talking a lot here. Do you want me to tell you the story, or where do you want me
I
to?
tell me, you got me.
Yeah. So the story is, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I guess the first question, before we start, would be, what if every athlete could use their genetic blueprint to optimize performance, speed, recovery, and stay injury free? Wouldn't that be great? You
Why
know?
would we just ask that question? What if?
Yeah, what if? If you could do that, I mean, that's exactly what we're all about, and that's how we started the company. We're trying to prevent injury risk. We're trying to get rid of the one size fits all programs, and we brought science into the equation, where your DNA and my DNA and everybody's DNA are different. So what we've done is we found a way to tell you, or come up with predispositions, by understanding the report that comes back to us from our software, and it tells me all about you, what you may be predisposed to, how can we better train, what can we do, and we're really focusing on the injury. We're focusing on we're trying to get you a little bit more optimization of performance. So that's really what the program's all about.
Now, this program, because I know in earlier conversation we talked about cardiac health and your company, and I had mentioned the fact that at one historically black college, there was an individual who was in the basketball team, was not feeling well and was removed from basketball practice, and hours later they discovered that he had went into cardiac arrest. Is this technology able to, when you say prevent injuries, is it able to forecast potential risk?
Well, what it does do, Kevin, is once we've done the genomic sequencing with you and we receive the report back, it will tell us what are you predisposed to. You may very well be predisposed to that particular condition, that whatever happened with the athlete, and we know that, and we're able to tell you that. And what it does as an athlete, as a person, it helps to it helps you to understand what you can and can't do. It sort of sets the parameters around, you need to be a little more cautious with certain things when you're training, right? So it definitely will give, the bells will go off. So that's really what it's all about.
The reason why I asked that question, because I know off camera we had talked about this, and I'm thinking about how many programs, be it high school, college, professional, club teams, and so forth, how many of these things can we prevent, or instances we can prevent by having enough knowledge ahead of time and going from there. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think there's a number of conditions that we can prevent. And right now, with what we're doing, we are working with professionals, Olympians, and sports teams, trying to mitigate first of all, the injury risk. The health risk is part of it. Our program is expandable. It's based on 15,000. We focus on 15,000 variations in the sports gene pool that we look to, we report about it, but we have the ability to get into the health aspect of it. So in other words, we can do things like, maybe the medications that you're taking aren't correct for, what works with your body. Maybe you're taking a prescription medication that simply is harmful to your body. We're able to tell all that. We can expand beyond just this sport genomic program.
Now, let me ask you a question. Knowing that you're able to do this, especially with people that are prescribed medication by doctors, and I will say I'm not taking away from any doctors, but I do know that I had a personal experience with one of my clients that AI helped her find out that she had a high content of what is it that comes in fish? Um, I can't even think of right now. But anyway, she was being toxic. Um, Mercury, that's what it is. She had mercury poison
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
had high levels in it, and she was retaining strongest crap. She should have been a some type of athlete, but very intense person, very focused person, very strict on her diet and whatever. But she was not losing the weight. But after she got her numbers down to single digits, within a week she lost 10 pounds. Within 2 weeks, it was another 5 pounds. Within 3 weeks, all the work that she had put in prior to that, she is ripped to shred today, 3 weeks later, just by finding out something in her bloodstream that she had an overabundance to, it changed it. So modern medicine, when you say, well, the medication can, I'm a firm believer that a large percentage of people that are on blood pressure medicine, and this is on my personal because I've experienced it myself, does not need to be on blood pressure medication for the simple fact when they tell you that it's genetic, then how come babies don't have high blood pressure? So, what's going to be the conversation between when doctors hear this interview and saying we totally disagree versus a layman person or an Olympic hopeful athlete taking this information and says, I will stop taking this and start doing this program? How do we address that conversation? And are you ready for that conflict?
Yeah, and I think to be fair to doctors, first of all, they're the first ones to admit they do the best they can with the information that they have. And the genomics field is it's a newer area. I mean, it's been going on for a while, but it's evolved and now it's really become predominant. It's we're learning more and more about it, and you'll read it in the news. But I think your typical doctor is going to say this, look, I will prescribe a medication to the best of my knowledge according to what I've been taught and learned, through my years of not only education but experience. And they're not doctors by no means, or they're not at fault for anything. They're doing the best they can. What's happening now is now we're science backed. Now, because we're able to unlock your DNA, we're able to tell the things that are really going on in your body. What are you predisposed to? I mean, it just opens a whole new world that now the doctors have more information to work with, and it's a new field that many doctors are learning. But as they learn more and more, and that's eventually, in my opinion, and many other opinions, that's going to be the way of the future. You'll see in the UAE they've mandated that their citizens be genomically sequenced, right? Like that's the Emiratis. They've mandated that their Emiratis get sequenced, and the reason they're doing that is they want to understand more. They want to save your life if something happens and you go to the hospital. Now you know what are you predisposed to. So it's an absolutely incredible field. There's 100,000 babies, rare disease testing going on in the UK. There's testing going on in Africa, all over the world. It's become one of the biggest sciences out there right now. We've taken what we have the ability to do, and we've taken that. It's now become an affordable way to figure out exactly what's going on in your body, and to take it to a training aspect where you can actually work with athletes, whether it's a professional athlete, an amateur athlete, or just an enthusiast. What our program does is it gathers the information from your DNA and it sends it to our app, and then it's monitored in real time with your wearable. So now you're getting live information that's in your app. It's got access to your DNA, okay, and it's giving you advice on what to do. We've got another an AI component where we have that we call the coach. Ask the coach. You can ask the coach about anything you want, and it's an AI tool that the coach comes back and just talks to you, really, essentially, is what it is. So there's a lot going on here, but the other component that we haven't talked about yet, and I know you're probably going to ask me, is what about the nutritional aspect? And
Mhm.
part of what makes us unique and different is we get into that as well. We have our company has laboratories a laboratory in Calgary, Canada, and we've just recently opened up a laboratory outside of San Francisco, and we do microbiome testing as well. So we've incorporated the microbiome testing in some of our subscription programs, where now we're talking about genomics is what your DNA is. That's what you're born with. You get an allele from your mother, an allele from your father, and when you do the science behind it, it reports back. This is the particular, whether it's a disease or a condition that you may be predisposed to. That's called genetics, genomics, genetics, and what happens with your gut, the microbiome, is that's called epigenetics. Okay. Epigenetics, you're not born with, it gets created. The vagus nerve is in your gut and it goes to your brain, and everything that you take in gets fed right up to your brain, and it actually can create diseases. But what we're able to do now is we're able to find out what's going on in your gut, and how can we, it's like I would equate it to an engine in an automobile. If you're giving it the proper fuel, it's going to run a lot better, right? And if you're not, if it's getting a really low grade fuel, it's not going to be a high performance. And that's part of what we learned. And back to this speed skater that I was telling you about, when he started the program with us, he had the silver medal, and he's now the champion. And he's a Canadian champion, getting prepared, getting ready to go to the Olympics. But he attests the fact, and the quotation is he believes that we helped him get to that next level. And mostly he learned about, he wasn't eating right before the performance. Right. So he changed his, as you probably know, a lot of these well, you've been there. The advice is generally to eat a lot of carbs before you get out there and you do your thing. And for some people, that really, really works. Right. But for a lot of people, it doesn't. Right. So that's what we've learned, and that's what he learned. And so we've taken all of these things that I'm talking about, put it into one program, and it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, you had also mentioned off camera in earlier conversations that you discovered that his best performance was after he had ingested salmon, a protein.
No, 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 that was a story about a hockey team, our local hockey team. The radio DJs they were talking about a player that had scored 4 goals in the game, and they asked him, how did you do that? What did you do different? And he said he was joking, but he was serious. He said, "Well, I had salmon for lunch." And what I was trying to say to you is this: that may not be why he scored 4 goals, but it also might have something to do with it. My point really is this: it's back to the speed skater. He changed his diet before he went into the competitions. And, you feel different, you feel a little lighter, you feel a little better. It's your metabolism. So what I was trying to tell you is, I found it a little humorous that, he made that statement without realizing that in fact could very well have something to do with, his performance. You can't say he scored 4 goals because of it, but the theory behind eating correctly before you perform at a high level is science.
So, what would be the difference between the science coming from your company of actually an athlete sitting down with a licensed dietitian and evaluating the same thing? Is it more effective? And because you have all the testing, the blood work, and everything else, or is it the same, or is one inferior, one superior? How
Yeah,
would
well,
you?
yeah, no, good question. I mean, dietitian is really always the answer at the end. And the reality is we do have dietitians, and that is part of what we do. And the dietitian will analyze when you do a microbiome test, and that tells you what type of bacteria you have in your gut. If you or I look at it, we're going to see words, and you're a pretty smart guy, and I think that I'm a pretty smart guy sometimes too. But the words that you'll see of some of these bacterias, I mean, you can't pronounce them, and I mean, they're really, really long. My point is this: is you can't analyze that without having a registered dietitian or somebody that really knows what's going on that can direct and guide you. So to answer your question, no, a dietitian is part of it, but that's what makes us unique is we have doctors, we have dietitians, we have scientists. Our parent company has the laboratory. We have a licensing agreement with the parent, and that's what makes what we do so much different than anybody else that's in a similar program. We don't just give a report. We give a full 360 on everything that's going on. And we also have the ability to tell more about your health. It's not just the sports is really important, and it's really important to the people that are performing. But what does happen is as you learn more about what we do, you can understand maybe there's something in your family that maybe your uncle is or your father or somebody is predisposed, or they have a heart condition. They've never done a genomic testing. Now that we've already done this, you only have to do it once. You don't have to keep doing it. So that's a huge benefit, and it's something that we do differently. Most companies are just looking at 10 or 12 or 20 or maybe 30 genes. We're looking at over 20,000 genes, right?
Wow, that's a lot of I need to know stuff in there, and I will tell you, if this technology had existed back when I was young and faster and better looking, then maybe I was sat down and got a couple extra seconds, and maybe I'd actually made one of these Olympic teams or trials and so forth, because that was my dream. But let me ask you, the everyday person, okay, and I'm going to come back to competitive athletes. I have a funny twist on that, at least I think it's funny. Everyday athlete I see in the gym. I currently work as one of the master level trainers at Lifetime Athletics, which is in the United States, is one of the premier fitness experiences. I won't say health club because it's a destination more so than a health club. We offer everything, and science is a big part of what drives us, that separates us from other health clubs. But there are a lot of people, especially men, testosterone levels are going low. Women are having problems with different hormones and whatever at a lot early age. I personally contribute this to lifestyle and food because here in the United States, and I just learned we just had Halloween. When I was growing up, the original protein bar for football players in my day was the Snicker bar. And I stopped eating Snickers for the simple fact that didn't taste the same. And I just realized they're not even using real cocoa in the chocolate anymore. It's all on basically the same line as candy, regular candy. So this testing to the everyday person or whatever, especially young men that testosterone levels are dropping a lot quicker. Estrogen levels are changing. Hormonal problems are happening earlier with women. Is this test beneficial to the everyday person trying to just stay fit and healthy and run a marathon or a CrossFit or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll give you an example of how beneficial it really can be. I've got a client, one of our very first gals to join the wait list, waiting for us to, do the official launch, is she's been a bodybuilder for some time, and she's a very, I've never met her in person. We talk back and forth, but she's tried all kinds of different things to train better. She's got some issues that she's trying to work out. And what she's so excited about is that she's now going to get that information that she never had before. And she's going to get the information about her particular, her personal DNA. What is she predisposed to? Maybe she's having a problem that she can't lose enough weight. Maybe there's something in her DNA that's going to tell her the story, and that's the excitement for her. But you made a statement about you wish you could have known about this program, way back when you were training. many people the same thing. Okay, but there's a number of Olympians after they've done the testing, and they come back, and I do an interview on the website. There's a number of different testimonials, and the first thing I ask them is, what has this program done for you? And we haven't even got into the app and the real-time monitoring with them. It's just really getting the results from their DNA and finding out about what's going on in their body. And they say 95% of them, it validates everything that they've gone through in their training life, in that they knew that there was something not quite right, and it was just so rewarding to find out about it. They wish, as you said, they could have known about this back then. Okay, but to your average everyday person, what it does is it gives them the ability to discover more about how better to train, how to look for or better results at a quicker pace, right? And it just really, it's an exciting thing, and it's nobody's ever quite done it like this, and then fed it into an app, and have it monitored in real time, and then have a buddy to talk to, the AI coach. So it's a very interactive program that enthusiasts, no matter what stage they're at, absolutely love. And it's also a great program for youth. We've got some pilot programs set to run that, they're young kids that are very athletic, athletic academies that want to know how to better train. And as I said to you, eventually what's going to happen in our lifetime, I believe, is that you're going to have all this information at the very beginning when you're born. Okay, so what we're doing, I mean, we're ahead of the game, and we're basically, I mean, we've got it in the sports area, but it's really knowing about your body is what it's all about. So.
I'm glad you said that, but before, because it tweaks something, the question I want to ask, and I'm trying to figure out a way how to introduce this question. And you said you could be able to predict this before it was born. But before I ask that question, to my listeners and for my listeners that are saying, "Wow, I wish I could have," how do I get in touch with Mr. Patrick Kirkwood? He is in Canada. I will tell you that now. And believe it or not, I'm going to say I've got a lot of friends in Canada, and they're good people. And there's a lot of people in the U.S. They have great relationships with people in Canada because we're all human beings. We all breathe the same air. So whatever drama you hear and whatever differences, silence the BS and listen to the conversation at hand. Patrick, how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, thebiosport.com, and it's biosport.com. So it's thebiosport.com.
All right. So my question here, okay, this is strictly hypothetically,
Hmm.
and I'm going to tie this in with a little Kevin Hart. I saw him live, and I'm repeating what Kevin Hart said. I'm quoting him. So the first part, I'm going to give you a list of athletes. Cindy McLaughlin, she is by far, and this is my own personal belief, she is by far one of the best all-around sprinters on this planet. I believe that she can hold the world record and gold medal multiple times in the 100, 200, open 400, 400 relay, as well as the 400 hurdles. I believe that. I think Michael Jordan is one of the best basketball players, along with Kobe Bryant, along with LeBron James. All right. We've got baseball players that I can list. Um, we have tennis players that I can list. If we went through genetics, and I had a good friend that played for the New York Knicks, so was a center, and his family would only allow their offspring to date or marry other Olympic or world-class athletes in order to keep the gene pool alive. Could we pre-predict the next Cindy McLaughlin, the next LeBron James, the next Kobe Bryant, the next this, the next that. And the reason why I'm saying Michael Jordan, because some of us, Kevin Hart says, is that this is, I don't know if it's funny, but he says if you got more than four kids, he says, don't worry about college for all four kids. Find the one that you can put through college because the rest of them are duds. And he used Michael Jordan as a reference. Best athlete in the world, and his two kids sitting on the couch with video games. That's a Kevin Hart joke. So let me ask you a question. With this science, could we create no matter what country we're coming from, an advantage in our competitive sports through genetic and this testing with AI through your company?
So, I mean, listen, that's a really that's a question for for I'm not the doctor, I'm not the scientist. I can tell you this though, when it comes to genetics, there's certain things that are passed along, and will you get all those same genes? Well, there is if you look at cultures and you look at what type of genes different cultures have, there's definitely predominant genes in cultures, number one. There's definitely genes that are much stronger that get passed along to the kids, to the children. Doesn't mean if you put two superstars together that you're going to get all those exact same genes. No, it doesn't mean that, but the likelihood is stronger than let's say an Olympic athlete getting together with a completely non like maybe they're a professor in psychology is the mate. You're probably going to get a combination of athleticism and a little brain power in there somewhere. But again, I'm not the doctor, but I can tell you this: there definitely is a lot to say, a lot to do with what you have and what you pass along, and it's the best example I can give you is if you've got my daughter has you can probably see I've got blue eyes. Well, she's definitely got the blue eyes, and so does her grandfather. And I mean, there's certain traits that absolutely get passed along. And if you look at different athletes, some of the people that you could you could look and see that, yeah, a lot of times they do have the same genes. And there's many professional athletes that, I mean, their children are athletes too. It's not just because dad was an athlete and they got that extra break. They've got to have the genes in there somewhere, right? So I know I didn't answer that question exactly how you would have loved to answer it, but
I was just having fun because I know there's a lot of things from what I do that plays into it. One is culture has to do with it. One is through what's available to you with training, nutrition, and the mindset of individuals. I mean, I was at the FISU games in Lake Placid, New York, and you and I talked about the speed skaters. And if you've ever seen this in real life, basically it's not the fastest person that always wins. It's the fastest person that reacts to the one opening that normally wins on there. And so I just asked that for fun, for the simple fact that joke that Kevin Hart told me. And he said for no one to say that, if he called Michael Jordan's two sons a dud, never to repeat it. That's why they took their phones away. And I said, no, let me have some fun to bring it out there. But, we go through this and we've got a lot of information out there and what ifs. Um, Where's this technology with your company right now? Where's it available?
when you say available, it's simply just come to our website, visit our website. You can get in contact with me directly. You can send an email to our info. We are scheduled to officially launch the program January 26th. We have been running and testing the program for some time now. And as you know, when you have a company, you want to make sure that launch is, I want to say perfect. I don't know that anything's ever going to be perfect, but we're making sure that it's as close to perfect as it could be when we do launch. And right now we're still in the testing phase. I'm still testing elite athletes, Olympians, professionals, that sort of thing. So if you are one of those elite athletes, you want to get in touch with me again, thebiosport.com. We may have a few spots still available for you to test with, but please get on our waiting list. What's going to happen is as soon as we launch, we've got a number of people on the waiting list. It takes a little bit of time to process all this information. So the sooner you join that wait list, the sooner you're going to be able to jump on the program. Once we scale up as we get going, it'll level off. But that first, the the first bit with the launch in January is, it's going to be, it's going to be, it's going to be crazy. Jump on thebiosport.com and info@thebiosport.com if you want to email me. Patrick Kirkwood, CEO.
Now, Patrick, I know a lot about your background, and we have similar backgrounds, and we could talk about this all day and laugh about some of the ongoings and whatever. And I know I'm busy. I've just started going back to writing and producing music, which I've shared with you today. So, in your position of leadership and then being a visionary, what does it take for you to lead two innovative tech companies and organizations such as BioSports and BioAero Incorporated at the same time? How do you manage all this?
Well, it's difficult for sure. And, I can say I've stepped away from BioAero, the parent company. I'm still involved in, there's still certain events where, I will be involved, but I focus 99% of my time on the BioSport. Just simply because I have to. And as far as it's time management. If you don't have the time management, you're not gonna get it all done. And it's also you've got to you keep meeting and talking to people, developing relationships, and you learn better ways to accomplish the things that, as you know, right? We've talked quite a bit about different things, as you say, we have in common. By the way, I want to give you a little bit of a shout out there. I did listen to a couple of songs that, wow, somebody's going to sign you here right away. I'm sure you're going to keep doing this because I mean, you're very passionate about it. But we all have different areas that we like, we enjoy, and we have to find a way to have a balance, a life balance, however that may be. But as you know, this job goes into the weekend, it goes into, late nights, it goes into travel. I've been, kind of all over the world, and one of the things when I was in Dubai, well, it was Abu Dhabi, that I was speaking on the world stage with one of our companies, our venture capital company, Kapoor Wealth Partners, and somebody asked me the question, can anybody succeed as an athlete, right? Which I know we're getting off on a little bit of a tangent here, and I said, there's many things. You got to have the genes, you got to have the sort of the ability, that's part of it, so you got to have a little bit of something. But the biggest thing you need in life, period, is the drive, the desire, the want, and the belief. And I think so many people have succeeded more so not on their genes or whatever they've been given. You get blessed with many of those things, but it's that want and that drive and that desire, and that you keep practicing, and you keep doing the things you need to do to succeed. And I know that we've
Right.
talked, right?
And you believe it or not, that's so important. I will tell you, I coached a kid in high school naturally. In his senior year, he ran a 200 meter dash faster than two of the guys that were on the US A B team, four by one or 4x2 relay team. He ran faster in high school. He got to college and discovered one, Coach Mack wasn't there. Two, the other thing, girls were a distraction. He got kicked out of school. A kid that was already a world-class athlete coming out of high school, and now he's pumping gas at our local airport. The other thing is too the mindset, which is one of the strongest things. I was not the most gifted athlete. I just had an attitude and a mindset that no one would train harder than me, no one would train smarter than me, and I didn't have quit in it. And that mindset, I have coached people that weren't athletes that are now athletes today in their given sports. So I'm totally on board with that. But the thing is, and the thing that intrigues me, and the reason why I wanted to do this so much, not so much of knowing you, and I hope God heard you, that someone will represent me with my music. And I know this interview is not about me, but since you put it out there, I'm a lyricist and I'm a producer, so I'm hoping to write music for someone that's already established because I don't want to perform. I just want to, and I'll talk to you about an idea that I have afterwards. But the future of athletics and optimization, all right, AI is going to play a big part of it. All right. And we can't get away from it. And I'm not even going to say the future because the future is the present right now. There's so many different layers right now. How do you see technology reshaping the next decade of sports, wellness, and longevity?
Well, I think AI just period in our world and everything that we do completely has, I mean, it's one of the predominant areas that, you look, first of all, from a standpoint of where is our world going? And is it scary that we're this advanced in the AI? Well, it is and it isn't. But when you talk about sports and what it can and does do, it just really it changes the game. It changes the way you. It's going to change the way that you train as an athlete. Number one, you're still going to do your same basic routines, but now you're doing it from a knowledge basis, and you're having like even little things with AI. Now you or I can write that paper that we never, we couldn't before. We could do things that, we never had the ability to do before. But what happens is if you've ever played with AI a little bit, just whether it's a chat GBT or something like that, you just realize how smart those folks were that were actually doing it without AI.
Right.
So in a certain sense, what we do with the sporting world is there's no limit. The sky is the limit, right? We can go as far as AI will allow us to, and to the point of what I was telling you about is having the AI coach involved there. You can ask that coach anything, like, hey, coach, I'm on this program. And I don't feel like swimming today. That's not part of my program. Well, in a matter of seconds, it'll give you something different to do, right? So how is it going to change? Well, hey, coach, I'm not feeling really well today. Should I do this or give me a different program? Here you go. Maybe it's going to say, hey, you've done enough. I've got all the data right there. Maybe you can take today off, or whatever advice it's going to give you. It's comes from just we don't have the wherewithal to perform that as quickly as that AI does, right? So
Yeah. I mean, technically, I do that. So I got a little bit up on AI because I still believe that you still need a personal touch, especially if you have someone that's on the next level. I do have to ask you a question. This is personal. I don't want to leave the show without asking this. I told you earlier, I live with a TBI, traumatic brain injuries from too many concussions. My biggest fear, and I got to quit focusing on this because I slipped and almost fell and hit my head. The last time I got my bell rung, I was at work. I got hit with a barbell in my head. Ever since then, my mind rose like you ever see the movie The Matrix and see all those little things going down or whatever?
yep, yep.
Computer. That's the way my head works. But the only difference is the words. And when I get a word, and which is the reason why I can write music the way that I do, is because when it comes to my word, I get a chorus or something. I see that the song completed, and then I hear it on levels. My biggest fear is I hit my head again, I'm going to lose everything. It transfers into my writing, my conversation, my coaching, my teaching, and the way that I listen to people. With this technology that you have with your company, can you preserve what's going on in my head if someone's performance athlete is living with a traumatic brain injury on how the healing process, would that help someone like me?
Well, I would have to say, no, I don't think we can do that. There's many things that we can do, and there's many advancements coming. The brain is, just a quick personal story. It's when you hit the brain, when you hit your head, and you have a traumatic brain injury of any sort. it becomes a complicated situation. And, even, my father, had some falls, before he passed, and every fall that he had, it was in a certain way, I mean, it was very sad, but in a certain way, it was very interesting to see how it kind of changed some things that, I mean, he was remembering things that, from so long ago, and then, the next minute he'd be okay. Do we have the technology right now with what we're doing to, you know, to to solve that particular problem? No, no, we did, not that I'm aware of. But are we working on technologies? Yes, yes, we are. And there's many different things going on in the world today that, that are, eventually that will be something that we can look after. But we can tell you about things that, you may be predisposed to, but, we can't get into that head quite yet. And, I think eventually, we will. And, as I speak, there's probably somebody somewhere in a laboratory working on exactly what you're talking about. And, they're going, hey, hey, I've got this, ready to go. But our company works in many different areas, and would it surprise me to, come back to you in 6 months and say, hey, you know what, we've started on this particular area, and we may have a solution? No, it wouldn't surprise me, but as of right now, I don't have the answers for you today, right?
I was hoping you're going to say yes, because I do not want to lose what's going on in my head. Outside of the side effects, the headaches, the blurred vision, the stuttering, and all this other stuff, I don't want to lose the creative process right now. Because when I hit my head last time, the creative process, it exploded. My head is just going crazy, even right now. So I
So
don't
Kevin,
want
let me interrupt you. I mean, let me give you a very layperson's advice. Don't bang your head anymore. Like that. That's you know.
to.
And I say that, in humor and everything like that, and but I've seen it happen, and I know what you're saying, and I know some football players, and I know, some folks that have had that bang up, and it's such a complicated, um, your brain is, it's very, very interesting. But
It
yeah,
is very complicated.
just
I was in
don't,
a
don't,
dark.
don't be banging your head anymore.
I'm
That's
not. I was in a dark space in the very beginning, but I think a lot of the cognitive and the way I lived my life before foreshadowed the negative, and now it's all positive. I do want to have a little fun with you because early in your career, you had worked with some very high-end brand names when it comes to automotive. So you led the team for Ferrari, Rolls-Royce, and now BioTech. If you could design a dream performance vehicle for the human body, what would that look like?
a dream performance vehicle for the human body.
If
Um,
you could design a car that would be perfectly matched, because AI and whatever, that will be attached to the ideal human body based on performance, feel, and everything else. And because I know automobile manufacturers are trying
yeah.
to create a ultimate car with the ultimate experience. What will it be? Because
So
Ferrari's a high-end car, Rolls-Royce is a high-end
yeah,
car.
well, listen, it is, and I want to tell you something that, first of all, that car would be a car that, you simply, if you got in an accident, you'd be safe. You wouldn't injure yourself. Number one. Number two, you'd be able to go as fast as you could and as quickly as you could, and same thing. And maybe it's a ball that bounces and you're secure in there, and it's almost like what you're just talking about, the brain. If you get hit in a car, you're scrambled and that sort of thing. But I want to tell you how far we've come as a society. When I was in San Francisco a little bit ago, you know, what, I'm embarrassed to admit this in public, but I'll tell you, I saw this car when I first got to San Francisco, and I looked and I thought, wow, they must get a lot of parking tickets here in San Francisco. And I saw another one, and I saw another one. I thought, whoa, and it was the Waymo. And I'm sure you're aware of the Waymo, the
Hmm.
self-driving taxi, and
Right.
There's a statement about life and technology and what we have the ability to do. I mean, when you just think about it, there's a car, you just sit there and you enjoy the ride. And, you know, I was I was kind of a little bit scared when I first got in, but what an incredible ride. So the car that I would design would be that car where you get in, you talk to it as almost you do with the Waymo, much safer, and you could move into performance mode with it, and maybe it's there's a lot of things you could do, and but the Waymo is about as far as advanced as we get with a car. But that would be, I think you'd have to put a Rolls Royce touch in there somehow. There's lots you could do, but I think really, to be honest with you, the technology that's happening right now is, and it's some areas that our team has been delving into. We have the ability. One of the things that we do is we've got the visual recognition technology, and that's exactly what's happening with automobiles right now. If you're, the Mercedes had a, it would sort of give you a warning if it thought your hand was off the wheel for too long, or whatever the technology is right now. Now we have the technology where it's going to be able to look at you or see you, and it's going to catch you nodding off or something like that. And I mean, that's right here. We're at the cusp of doing that. So there's so many breakthroughs in technology having to do with automobiles, safer driving. So I know I'm kind of in a bit of a circle with what I'm telling you
Yes.
about. Yeah, that's exciting though to me.
All right. So we've come to that time in the show. What do you want the listeners to take away from not only the conversation that we've had today, but leave them a little something about the BioSports and the future of your company and the initiative you guys have and how they get in touch with you before we sign off?
Yeah, listen, if you're looking for an incredible program that's going to help you, it's going to help to prevent injury, it's going to help you to get a little more performance, and it really is, it's leading edge technology backed by science. Please let us know. Give us a call. Join our wait list, thebiosport.com. Patrick Kirkwood, CEO. Once again, that's thebiosport.com.
All right. So, to our listeners, I want to say thank you for joining us. If you like what you've heard, go to RMK Productions and Network on our YouTube page. If you'd like to be a guest or have someone that would like to be a guest, and Patrick, I'm going to extend this to you. You are always welcome back. There's an open seat. But for our listeners, go to info@rmkproductions.org, fill out the request form, and we'll get right back to you. And you can subscribe, follow, but I will say this is my mindset, is that the people I surround myself with are a lot like people like Patrick and some other people. He was referred to me by a good friend here in Canada, Leela, and I want to thank her for the referral. 90% of my guests on my shows are referred. I surround myself with like-minded people. My friends are not the type of people that drive by an accident. They're the type of people that get out and help. And I'm going to ask you this question, and because the way that I preface it, I've had 7 people to this day that have answered this one question, and I don't ask this of everyone. If you had one ask, ASK, I don't want people to say that I said something different than that, and someone out there that's listening could make this ask come true. And like I said, I've had 7 people. The first person was a school teacher in the Bronx here in the United States, got a $50,000 endowment from a young lady in France, Paris, France. The last person got 35 acres donated to them. He happens to be Kira Spratt, better known as Junior. He's a co-host of Steve Harvey's morning show in Atlanta. He wants to build a health facility like St. Jude's to have provide medical care for people with sickle cell. So I know that this is setting you up, Patrick, but I want your ask to be big. If you had to answer that question, what would your ask be?
It sounds very broad, and I don't think anybody's necessarily going to be giving a whole great deal of money. But if I could ask for any one thing, I would ask for um, peace amongst all human beings, finding a way to harmonize, stop the war, stop killing each other. I know nobody's going to, give that solution or that answer, but I think it would change our life in that we would be able to direct. There's so many people that are homeless that can't, they have nothing to eat. They have nowhere to. They don't have the means to get a job, to have a job. You and I are very fortunate. If there was a way to help create something, the other ask I would direct towards sports, and I know you only asked for one ask, was to find a way to better fund all of our athletes. It's a huge problem out there where we have so many talented people that simply can't afford to continue on because they don't have the funds, or they can't do the European tour because they don't have the money to do it. I don't know how it works with the U.S. government, but the Canadian government funds a very tiny portion of what they do. So there's two asks there, and I know the first one is, sure we've all heard that before, but just, let's love each other, right? That's there we go.
So let me support you on that. I'm glad you prefaced the way you did. So, to people around the world, I'm not just saying the US or Canada, I'm asking you right now to be a better human being for the rest of your life. Be kind, be considerate, have grace and understanding, and listen, and not worry about profit over humanity. Now, the second part of your ask, I've said this a long time ago. A lot of our countries are not represented by the best athletes because opportunity is not there. I think our government wastes a lot of money. All of our governments waste a lot of money building things for profit or destruction. And I think if we diverted 1% of that in order to create a community where an athlete will get proper nutrition, proper science, proper training, and proper rest and mental health support, and allow the best athletes amongst our children, because we celebrate the victors and we listen to their stories and even through hardship. But a lot of times, a lot of our best athletes cannot financially train with freedom and ease, cannot be housed, and they have to bake and choose in both the US, Canada, and whatever. I think we waste a lot of money on things that are not necessarily building humanity, but through sports is the one common area outside of our music that brings everyone together. And again, we need to stop killing each other for profit. We need to stop sacrificing and testing human beings for profit. We just need to stop doing everything because I had a guy on earlier to said, we have single digit billionaires. How much money do you really need? But we do need human beings in order for this world to be a better place. Let's make the world a better place, not just one country. So with that said, this is the notes that I've taken. The future of fitness lies in personalized data and science, not guesswork. Prevention and the prediction will soon matter more than performance. Your DNA, your micro biomechanics, and your biology holds the blueprint of what's best for yourself. The technology will not replace a trainer. Thank God. It will empower them to be smarter and safer. The mindset of a champion is all about evolution, not repetition. So today's conversation reminds us that technology cannot replace a human being. It's more convenience. It can be transformative. My guest today, Patrick Kirkwood and the BioSports, are showing you that real changes starts with science, where science meets the soul and the data meets discipline. My grandfather always said, when you get to a place that you can help someone else out, it is your duty to do so. And with that said, he said, reach one, teach one. Patrick, I want to thank you for allowing us to use this platform to help you and the rest of the world not only perform better, recover better, and to live better. And this is not even part of my notes. You're an example of what a good human being is. I hope people will follow your lead. Thank you for coming to Talking with Kevin and Son. And with that said, we'll fade to black and we're out. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kevin.